let's queer up the worldview. Eastern European country Georgia cancels Pride Week after far-right protesters invade venue. On Saturday, the Pride Week event in Tbilisi was called off and attendees were bused to safety. The organizers have accused authorities of being complicit in the face of far-right threats of violence. The organizers behind Georgia's Pride Week were forced to cancel an event after thousands of far-right demonstrators and other opponents of LGBTQ rights stormed the venue. The open-air event at a park outside Tbilisi was called off after the demonstrators destroyed the stage, burned rainbow flags, and looted the event's bar. Deputy Interior Minister Alexander Darakhvelidze said, quote, "The protesters managed to find ways to enter the event area, but we were able to evacuate the Pride participants and organizers," end quote. The far-right groups had publicly incited violence against LGBTQ+ activists. They accused authorities of being complicit amid these threats. Pride organizers claimed that police did not adequately block the access road to the festival site or use proportionate force against the far-right demonstrators. According to local media reports, the protesters, numbering as many as 5,000, waved Georgian flags and carried religious icons. Georgia's figurehead President Salome Zurabishvili said the government, quote, "must ensure that the Pride Festival is held in safety," end quote. Well, I think this is an unfortunate and disheartening event in a string of disheartening and upsetting events. I mean, I think even though Georgia is a small country, and we're not, not talking about the state, the fact that they had a Pride event, and they had all these people who put their time and their effort, and they're, wanting to be a more inclusive space, and then to have it overrun by 5,000 demonstrators and
hooligans.
Yeah, and nobody was expecting that or prepared for that. That I'm a little bit like, that's a lot of people to just come out of nowhere.
Right.
That, you have to know there's things planning.
5,000. And and when I first read this story, kids, I was like, okay, if this happened at Flockfest, we would fight back. Yeah. That was before I saw 5,000. You know what I mean? Like, we can't get like 5 protesters here, So it's like 5,000. And like, they looted, they messed up the stage, they stole booze, you damn alcoholics. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And it reminds us how we're hated. In other places more so than here.
Absolutely. And the Pride organizers are claiming that the police knew, was in cahoots, or simply ignored it. And two items are really concerning. One, they didn't adequately block off the streets to the festival. That's one. And number two, they didn't use proportionate force to the right-wing demonstrators, right? That shows that they were sort of like not really protecting.
Looking the other way, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's problematic.
Yeah, insurrection all over again.
It reminds me of what's happened to the United States flag. Growing up, that used to mean just, oh, it's our country, whatever, we live here. And now when I see an American flag being on someone's truck or on someone's shirt or on something, I'm like, it almost feels like seeing the Confederate flag, because that's a short term now of what this person stands for and what they believe. To hear that they're waving the Georgian flag here, it's a similar sentiment.
And speaking of the Confederate flag, I'm a little confused. Is this story talking about Macon, Georgia?
Sounds like it, right?
Sounds like Macon, Georgia to me, by the way. The other thing that I want to echo your joke. They can riot and they can burn, but they certainly can loot the bar. So it's the intended decision of going, oh wait, don't touch the alcohol. So, you wonder there. The overall issue of the impression of what we watched in Tbilisi is a reminder to all of us. This is a region of the world that, and the Slavic nature of Russia, of Poland, of Hungary, of Georgia, Belarus. It's innate in homophobia. Yeah. It's just innate there. And I don't know if y'all have heard, but President Putin has told us there is not a single gay person in all of Russia.
Yeah.
Except for him. Except for him. And when you can say something like that, what do you expect a population that's listening to your leadership? If you're listening to a president of Poland, much less the president of Hungary, when the European Union is saying this is unacceptable and we may throw you out of the European Union if you continue, you can't be surprised at what we watched at Tbilisi. And the other thing that I think is really important about what we watched in Tbilisi is it is why we should all be active in our protest in LGBT, because this kind of thinking, even in places where we think we're extremely safe, is just sitting below the surface. And whether it's trans, or whether it's people of color, or whether it's women, or whether it's religious minority, Jewish and anti-Semitism, it's all still sitting there beneath the surface. And I think we got to a place, especially with marriage and the Supreme Court decision in 15, of a comfortableness, and forgot that Tbilisi is still sitting in large segments of American society. Not the majority. It is definitely a minority, but it is a powerful minority that we're facing. And I think one of the number one things of watching what happened at Tbilisi over the weekend is to recognize, wait, that could be Montgomery, Alabama. That could be Biloxi, Mississippi. And as a result, we have an obligation that we shouldn't be convincing our community to stand up for trans people, for Black people, for women and women's healthcare decision-making, et cetera, and so on. And right now, I ask this question over and over and over again, where are you? Which is why we have a We the People March. Where are you? Tbilisi is not far behind if we are not there for all of us. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.